She has had several very successful one-woman shows. Some that veer into the performance art category, whether you like performance art or not. I think Annie's on the fence about it. Herself, a few years ago, she had published by a very wonderful, her own memoir called, oh, this is bad. This is a faux pas. Stoners and Self-Appointed Saints.
Oh!
Which is a really wonderful book. And she likes to call us, we both have boyfriends, but we are platonic life partners. We really have that thing. Am I louder? How in the back? What can you hear, everybody? Okay, let me use my projection, my theater background for us. And Annie, a couple of years ago, she invited me, actually, I was on New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day. She said, I'm telling a live story at this event. Do you want to come out and see me do that? And we were new enough friends that I didn't feel I could say no. That I don't want to do that. And so I went out. It was the last thing I wanted to do, but I went out and she was absolutely, it was a revelation. And a couple of months later, I told a story, and so this is all her fault. She got me into this. She's a wonderful performer, and I'm so proud to be doing this offering with her. So I'm happy to introduce Annie Ganga.
Oh,
Yay, Annie.
Wow. It's so beautiful being here. I just am stunned by this setting. And I feel like I need to take off my shoes. So that's what I'm going to do. I feel really an urge to just be touching this ground.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. Aren't these great shoes?
Great shoes.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you a story. Like Rebecca said, I've spent the last 3 years especially, I've been performing, telling stories maybe all my life in some way or another, but the last 3 years especially, I've been working, developing one-woman shows, working on my book, but having a feeling of, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? What do I call myself? What? And so for a while, performance artist seemed to be a good thing, but that evokes in many circles a kind of like eye rolling and it just a sort of are you going to hit yourself with meat? That kind of thing. And but I felt that I kind of hadn't decided that I could just do this. Take a shower and then talk to people. I thought I would. What I needed to do was create shows that had an artistic or visual or just weird element. And so, and I did some like that. I did a show called Surprise Annie that was produced and directed by wonderful people in Austin, and it was two guys who would come to my house each night, the run of the show. They would blindfold me. I was supposed to bake. I was a baker and cake decorator for a long time. I would bake a tray of cupcakes. They would give me the number of people in the audience. I would bake cupcakes and wait at my house. They would blindfold me and then take me to a non-traditional venue.
Wow.
Like the laser tag room at a bowling alley, or a boat on Town Lake, or a woman's bedroom in a fancy house, and there would be an audience assembled before I got there, and they would scream surprise and scare me, and I would take off the blindfold and create a show, kind of on the spot and with the people, and it was wonderful and harrowing. And I remember one night sitting, they would make me wait, they would go in and make sure the crowd, they were highly organized. And I remember once I was sitting with a blindfold on and 2 trays of cupcakes, and I thought, I'm 42 years old, and I just don't know what I am doing right now. Like, how is this? happening for me. And so, but I thought, I'm a performance artist. This is what you got to do. And I did another show called Drawing a Paycheck that I wanted to tell stories. I've tried to have 26 arts and crafts-based businesses. All failures. And I still tell myself, well, the story about Thomas Edison, 10,000 tries. I don't know if I want to have 9,999 small cottage industry businesses. I'm not going to do that. But I did a show telling stories about many of my attempts. And while I did it, I drew portraits of people from the audience. And it was a lovely show. And it was a special thing. But, so and then I kind of ran out of ideas. And one thing for me, I've come from a tradition of 12-step groups from AA, and I've been with them for a long time, 17 years. And I always, of course, a huge piece of 12-step recovery is to claim a mature spirituality, to create a relationship with a higher power, with God, in the way you understand it. And sometimes I understand it and sometimes I don't. But one thing I love and have always loved is being with people in worship. It's interesting to me. Now, I was raised in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley by lapsing Catholics. On Sunday, we didn't go to church, we went to the mall. So I didn't really know what happened in churches. I went to them for weddings, and so, but I had never been in part of a community, a church community. And so when I'm living in Texas, and also I never felt Christian oppression. I never felt hurt by fundamentalism or anything. And living in Texas, when I moved to Texas, I met many people who felt that way, who felt that they were not accepted or that stuff had been shoved down their throat as they grew up. And so I was telling some friends, I decided what I wanted to do was I would go to a different church in Austin every Sunday for a year.
Wow.
And then I would create a show about it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I went to 6. It was nothing that I had good material, and also it was like get up early on Sunday. I wanted to stay in bed. But anyway, my friends who had a contentious or sad relationship with religion were all like, "Why are you doing this? Why would you do this to yourself?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have that charge. I just want to check it out." And so what I did was, I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but driving through town or driving in, a city, I would see different churches just as part of my day, and I would think, what are they doing in there? And so there was one in a strip mall in Austin on Burnett Street, and it was in a strip mall. It was just kind of like a shop front, and it had the name Arise Fellowship in a font I really didn't agree with, but it was kind of like flame, kind of, Holy Spirit, yeah, it had this kind of thing about it. And so I went in on a Sunday, and of course, people welcomed. I didn't know what to expect. I wore a nice outfit and went in, and it was a lovely, small congregation. It was ethnically integrated. It was about a third white, a third Hispanic, a third black, and I went in. And it was starting, there was a pastor, was about a 6-year-old white man, and he had a PowerPoint, which I thought was interesting. And he started talking, and I was standing next to an elderly white man and an elderly Hispanic woman. They're very sweet, shook my hand, said hello. And then as the sermon started, there was some music. The woman next to me just, apropos of nothing, I didn't understand this, she just started rubbing my back. Just rubbing my back and rubbing my hair.
Oh.
I just loved it. And we were together, she held me.
Oh.
And what's so funny is I was telling this story to Rebecca, and she said, "Oh, I don't think I would like that." But for, You don't touch strangers.
I would make me uncomfortable.
Maybe I'm Italian.
She knew what
so.
you needed. She knew what you needed. Yes.
And she gave it to me, and it was lovely. And then there was this thing that I noticed later in churches. They do the sort of turn to your neighbor, kind of say, hey, what's up, kind of thing. And so as that was, the pastor was introducing that time, and so she turned to minister, kind of, you know, she had her own little thing going on, and went to be with, hold other people. And I turned to talk to this lovely man who was asking me, you know, why I was there and what I was doing, and I just said, well, I'm just interested in worship. I didn't really want to say, well, I'm here trolling for material at but he was very lovely. The only thing was, and this is terrible of me to tell you, but he must have had like a very intense pico de gallo with his breakfast taco.
Oh.
And so he was standing very close to me, and I loved being close. But it was like an onion, really strong onion. And it was, thank God it was January, so I had a scarf. And as I was talking to him, I just tried to keep forward. But then at a certain point, and this is something that's becoming kind of has since become a phrase in my life, at a certain point I just surrendered to the onion. You know? And I was just there with him in the onion. Fine. And so then there was a fun thing that happened at the end, sort of the sermon closed, and somebody brought out a box that was very Raiders of the Lost Ark looking. It was very like this neat box. They opened it up, music, fun music, and we all took money, and we walked and threw the money in the thing. A little brochure, and I left. So happy, and you know, I don't know what the money, maybe, I don't know what it was, but I was so happy to be part of that, and felt certainly that it was fine to pay an admission.